Okay, so whenever it comes to cameras, people know that I'm sort of kind of a fan. Like my main shooter here, everybody, is a Sony a7 IV. I love this thing. I love it so freaking much. The 4K S-Log3 footage from that is absolutely beautiful. What you're looking at right here, contrary to popular belief, is not actually another DSLR or mirrorless camera. It is a Kio Pro Ultra. It is one of the largest sensors ever put inside of a webcam. And a matter of fact, folks, it's so large that that blur you see behind me, that's actual real lens blur. It's not an effect like NVIDIA broadcast background blur. That's actual blur from this Kio Pro Ultra. So whenever Elgato was like, hey, yo, Terry, we want to send you out a brand new camera that we haven't sent out to anybody yet because it's actually under NDA, I said, well, hell yeah, send it over. Heck yeah, sure, like, totally. And then I got it. I set it all up. And folks, I was so concerned, I actually emailed Elgato. Then I sent them a video sample of what I was getting from the camera. And, because I wanted to make sure that I was actually setting it up right to give it the best chance that it could. And whenever they told me that, long story short, that the development team got back to me via email and said that, oh yeah, everything looks good, your settings, they look fine, and that's basically what it should look like for the type of environment that you're in, I was like, well, okay, good luck, everybody. So this is the Facecam 4K you're about to see, and we'll just go over this thing together here, shall we? So, yeah, everybody, this is what the Facecam 4K looks like out of the box. And we are going to try to, in real time here, color correct this to something that I think is way more appropriate for my lighting environment. And keep in mind here, folks, that the lights you always see me have on here in my videos, they are two LED panels that are fully adjustable, dimmable, whatever you want to call it, white balance control, all that jazz, okay? And these are at 1%, but they already hurt my eyes here, okay? But let's go ahead and just take a little look at this here, okay? Now I'm going to take the exposure off automatic. This is 30 frames per second, so technically speaking, it should be 1/60. I'm going to adjust the ISO to what I think is appropriate. There we go. Same thing for white balance. That looks about 4,500. That looks about right. Yeah, okay. So this is the issue I was having with this camera here, okay, everybody? And keep in mind here, folks, I have the noise reduction off for a reason here, okay? This is how grainy this footage looks, okay? And because of YouTube's compression algorithm and all that stuff, you unfortunately might not be able to see the actual grain in this video. But like I said, it was just so, let's just say, not good. It was bad enough for me to reach out to Elgato to make sure that maybe my unit didn't get damaged or something in shipping, because the footage I was seeing from this same camera from other bigger influencers, it was like a night and day difference here. Okay, it truly was. Now, if I go ahead and turn on noise reduction to low, it does get rid of a lot of that noise, obviously, but I don't know if you guys and gals can see it here, but like on my forehead up here, like on the highlights, it looks like there's stained glass or something, like a stained glass filter across the whole image. And they said that's because of the noise reduction, and it's the 3D motion that it's going to add some blurriness and some smudginess to the way the camera looks. And I totally get that. So they said to go into custom, and for 3D noise reduction, put it on anywhere between 1 to 3, but no higher than 3. So there's 1. It still has that effect. And, I can sit here and talk about how this webcam has a 49mm filter thread on the actual front of the lens here. So you could actually apply filters to this lens, whether it's an ND filter, maybe a polarizer, or maybe if you have some lights behind you, you can actually get a filter that makes the lights behind you look kind of hazy. They have that star pattern that looks kind of cool on camera, but the thing is, though, folks, that there are other videos on YouTube that showcase the way the filters help this camera out. There's also a macro filter on here to where if you want to do like macro shots, you totally could. But I'm not going to talk about that stuff. And I know that Elgato wants me to, but unfortunately now I have to review this product the way it is. And because of that, I do not. It's one of those things where it's like I'm at a crossroads here, right? I could sit here and glaze the product and say how awesome it is, but I truly do not like the quality of the video that this thing puts out. And you know, and they were like, again, folks, it's hard to see, but there's grain back here in all these darker parts. And you know, you might say, well, Terry, that's normal. But if you go back and look at my other webcam footage you just saw a minute ago, there's no grain whatsoever. And here's the thing, folks, where I really think Elgato sort of kind of dropped the ball on this product here is they used an f4 lens. And I understand why they went with an f4 lens, and that is because that they wanted everything to be in focus, you know, at a certain point around a meter and a half. Okay. And I understand that. I totally get that, because there is no autofocus in this lens whatsoever. In this webcam, there is no autofocus. And I understand why they went with an f4 lens. But the thing is, though, folks, that the thing about an aperture on a camera, especially a sensor that's already this small, in order to get an equivalent depth of field from like, you know, for example, my A7 IV here, I have to stop down the lens on my full frame camera to f16 in order to get the same type of depth of field on my full frame camera, to where everything you see behind me is in focus for the most part, right? And the thing about f16 on a full frame camera is that I normally have my aperture open at around f2.8. So let's just say f2.8 is like this, right? f16 is like a pinhole. Okay, it's like a pinhole, everybody. And because of that, there's little to no light actually getting to that sensor. So what do I have to do? I have to crank up the ISO, which is what I'm doing right here. But whenever you crank up ISO on a grainy, noisy image, it will only exacerbate the grain and the noise in that image, like back here. Well, you could say, well, you can go from standard to wide dynamic range, and you can, and it does help a little bit. But again, though, it's just lifting up the shadows to, again, see more grain. So they did tell me that this camera here needs about between 1,000 to 2,000 lumens of brightness to really get the full capability of this sensor. Now, I don't know if y'all can see it or not here, folks, but in real time, I'm going to show you this here, okay? These lights are only at 1% because of how truly bright they are, okay? But Elgato did tell me, well, you know, this webcam here, it's more for a studio environment with good lighting. Well, I have good lighting. I have studio lighting. So let's just crank this thing up here, okay? Now, about 2,000 lumens is about 30%. What is on right now? Okay, yeah, 31% there, right? And like, and this is like, it's so bright, it actually hurts my eyes, y'all. Okay, like that's how bright this is here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take down the ISO to a more manageable, I would say probably around 550 or 600, somewhere in there. And even with all of this light, even with noise reduction turned on, there's still some grain back there. And just to show that, I'm gonna turn noise reduction off. This is what the video quality looks like with noise reduction turned completely off. Now again, okay, I have to turn this stuff like back down because this is actually hurting my eyes, y'all, for real. Okay, so I'm gonna go and crank this back up to like what that was, like 2,000 somewhere, I think it was, somewhere in there, 1,500. Yeah, about right there. Sure, we'll go with that. Yeah. Now, everybody, I am being hard on this product because it has Elgato's name. If this was a product that was released by some off-brand, no-name manufacturer, then I would not be judging it as hard as I am. But because it has Elgato's name attached to it, I'm just going to be blunt here. I am not impressed, and I'm, you know, and I'm really sorry if that hurts some feelings. I'm really sorry if that gets me blacklisted at Elgato and Corsair to never work with me again. But if they wanted honest thoughts and opinions about this camera. They sent it to the right person. If they wanted somebody to lie about it and say how great it is whenever they think it's not up to par, then they, should have sent it to someone else. You know what I mean? I am not going to sell out for my honest thoughts and opinions here. Okay, now I'm going to say this again, at least try to custom. There's the noise reduction and everything, but the truth of the matter here is, though, folks, is that I really do believe that where Elgato messed up with this camera is the f4 aperture on this lens. If anything, from what I know, the Facecam Mark II, the 1080p camera, I think it's got an aperture of f2.4. The Facecam Pro 4K with the autofocus has an aperture of around, I believe it's equivalent to f2. So what I would have loved to have seen them do with this camera here is maybe punch in the focus a little bit, maybe get a little bit tighter lens on here, maybe not such a wide field of view. And then that way there, they could have, brought the aperture up to like maybe, let's say f2.8 maybe. That way there, it would have let in a heck of a lot more light. At a certain focal length here, you still would have been nice and tack sharp in focus, even without the autofocus. And I really do think that would have helped this camera out a whole lot. And again, everybody, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm really not trying to be a dick about it. I'm really not. But these are just my honest thoughts and opinions. Okay, they really, really are. I really wanted to like this. Like, I truly did want to like this. But this is what they sent me, so this is what I have to review. And yeah, just in my humble opinion here, folks, if you are in the market for an Elgato webcam, the 1080p Facecam Mark II is a way better deal in my opinion. Or if you want the 4K with autofocus, go ahead and get the Facecam Pro. Yeah, the Facecam Pro, in my opinion, is Elgato's best webcam. It truly is. Autofocus, f2.0 aperture for a lens. It's still nice and sharp, and you still get that nice wide field of view as well. So yeah, hopefully maybe a firmware update for this thing can maybe save it a little bit. Maybe they can tweak the noise reduction algorithm or something behind the scenes, and maybe push out an update to get rid of some of that, like that stained glass effect, whatever you want to call it. And the thing here too, folks, is that the issues I'm having with this camera, you yourselves might not actually be able to see here on YouTube because of their, the way they clean stuff up whenever they re-encode stuff on upload. You know what I mean? So the problems I'm having with this camera might not be that apparent or in your face here on YouTube. But that's the reason why it took me almost a full month after this camera was released to the public to get this video out for you all. Because again, I had to go back and forth with Elgato for a while, their developers, their support team. And you know what? No knock on them. They didn't make the product. They just were trying to help support me the best way they could. And I do appreciate that. I really do. So with all that being said, do I recommend the brand new Facecam 4K from Elgato? And unfortunately, as it sits right now, I just cannot. I tried to like it. I tried to work with the team to see if maybe there was some technical issues on my end. There clearly was not. I have studio lights. I have all that jazz. And no matter what I throw at this thing, I cannot get a clean image, or at least a clean enough image that I am comfortable using, that I would say is actually, wow, this is really, really, really good. So if you're in the market for an Elgato camera, I highly recommend the Facecam Mark II. It's their 1080p 60 option, or of course the original GOAT they put out, the Elgato Facecam Pro. That's actually one I would recommend. Again, f2.0 aperture for the lens, full autofocus. So that's definitely the one I would check out if I were you. I really wanted this video to go differently, y'all. I truly did, but unfortunately, it did not. And Elgato, I'm sorry, don't hate me, but if you don't want an honest review of your product, send it to someone else. Take care, everybody. Peace.